Hey, everybody, welcome back to night 2 of Permission to Feel. I am excited, and I've got some feedback from those of you that joined us last night to say that you guys are being blessed by the word, which is exciting because that I know tonight you're going to be blessed once again. We have with us Dr. Juwanza McIntosh, who is going to be talking to us about anger. Ugh. I don't know about you, but I definitely have some things to be angry about today. So, just like we did last night, I want to cover some logistics. Then I want to take some time to pray with you, and then we're going to get right into the message. So, let's get it started. First thing, just like we said last night, lean into the discomfort. We want to encourage you to lean into the discomfort. Some things that we talk about, some things that we are going to encourage you to do may feel new, may feel like you've never done it before, you don't know how it's going to work. Just try it. Lean into the discomfort. We say that all the time at my job, and it's a way of encouraging us to stretch ourselves so that we can grow. Also, take time to listen and to pray. Listen, right? That doesn't mean just hearing us in the background. Sit down, try to disconnect and shut off from other things and really internalize what's happening, what's being said by our wonderful clinicians. Really take time to listen to the Spirit and pray, commune, and talk to God. Finally, try something new. Last night, I gave you guys a couple of skills. We talked about ruler. I know Dr. Juwanza is going to share some things with us tonight. Try something new. Honestly, what do you have to lose? Right? What do you have to lose? Give it a shot. You may learn something, and you may actually find that you're better for it when you try something new. And lastly, use the technology. During this time of COVID, it's one of the best ways for us to connect with each other to make sure that we remain safe and healthy. We don't want anyone getting sick. So until we can gather together again, we have to use what the Lord has allowed us to have. And so right now, I want you, whether you're on YouTube, make sure to tell us how you're feeling. Say hello. Get typing in that chat. I'll be there with you. And if you're on Facebook, also utilize that chat function. Stay with us, communicate with us. And at the end, we're going to have another fun quiz. I promise it'll be a little easier tonight. And we just want to be able to connect with you through the technology, to talk with you, ask questions, share your thoughts. I know that Dr. Juwanza is excited. I'm excited. And the mental health team is excited to be here with you. So let's get started with prayer. I'm going to do 1 minute tonight. If you're on Facebook, chat, also utilize that chat function. Put your prayer request in the chat. If you're with us tonight, put your prayer request in the chat so that we can pray for you. And then after we pray, we're going to get right started. So we're going to get 1 minute wherever you are. Put your prayer in the chat, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube. Again, if you know somebody from Metro, text them your prayer request so we can pray with you. Also, we have our communications is gonna be I think it's metrosda.org/pray. I know somebody's gonna correct me on that, but you can also go to our website and put your prayer request in there as well, so that we can pray with you. So 1 minute. I'm looking for any prayer requests that pop up, and then we're gonna pray. 7:34. I know somebody's going to correct me on that, but you can also go to our website and put your prayer request. There we go, metrosda.org/prayer. I was correct. At 7:34, I'm going to get started in prayer. So if you have a prayer request, you're watching us tonight, put them in Facebook or YouTube so that we can pray with you and pray for you before we get started. Good evening, Camille Stevens. I know this is your second night joining with us. She was our winner from last night. So I'm excited for you to be here with us. All right, it is 7:34. Let us all pray. Dear God, I just want to thank you for the opportunity and privilege to be here this evening to discuss our feelings in depth, dear Father. Talk about how we can be more mentally sound, mentally healthy. Dear God, I pray that you would speak through Dr. Juwanza. I pray that we would be encouraged through him. Dear Father, I pray someone out there today watching this who's going to go back and watch it would also be encouraged, be strengthened in their spirit and their mind. Dear God, we thank you for all the resources that you provide to us, all of the means of support that you give to us. So, dear Father, we look forward to communing with you, seeing you, and growing in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Can I tell you something
What?
that really gets on my nerves?
What?
When someone texts me at 3 a.m. in the morning, knowing good and well I have to go to work.
That is mad annoying. You know what I hate?
Let me hear it.
I hate when I'm cruising, right? Got my own little stride going on in the highway and stuff,
Okay.
right? And then I'm driving, and then all of a sudden somebody cuts me off. Like, who does that?
I bet you they had a Maryland license.
You know it.
You know they can't drive here.
No shade though. No shade. No shade. But shade.
Shade.
Right.
All shade. Let me tell you what else gets on my nerves.
What?
When someone says they're going to do something and they don't. My homegirl said she was going to come with me to the doctor and she didn't even show up.
Are you serious?
Girl.
All right, I got one more.
Okay.
So peep this. I'm really hungry, right? And I'm dying for this last slice of pizza. Right? No, I know what I'm going to put it on it and everything. I get home and realize that my husband ate the last slice.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my God.
Girl, he almost didn't survive.
That was my next question.
Okay.
Is he alive?
Yeah. Barely.
If that was mine, I love my food. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
So there was a post on Facebook, and it was asking people what made them angry.
I remember that.
People were going off. I think we should check them out.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote some down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So here's one that I saw that I thought was kind of interesting.
All right.
So somebody said they get angry when somebody's asking them for information they could have Googled themselves.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what else I saw?
What?
Someone else mentioned something about hypocrites and people who feel the need to just insert themselves in every situation, even though it doesn't even concern them.
Oh, that's deep.
Oh.
Okay, here's another one I found. When someone calls you to talk to you and they talk forever, and then when it's your turn to talk,
Man.
they ask you to keep it brief.
That gets me.
That is so rude.
Okay, so another good one that I saw. One about being ignored, people who lack communication skills, and people who laugh at other people's pain.
Wow. Yo, this is some deep stuff.
Doesn't even make any sense.
But you know what the good thing about this is, though? That we're actually going to be having a discussion on this right after this.
Oh, you're right.
So hopefully they'll give us some good tips on how we can handle what makes us angry.
That'll be great.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they've come up with because Lord knows I need a little bit of help.
Same.
I need some therapy and some Jesus.
Oh.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. For those that do not know, my name is Juwanza McIntosh. I've been in Metro for as long as I can remember. So it's really great to come back and sort of give back to the family that gave to me. So if we could just pause for a quick second, I'm having a little bit of audio issues. So sorry about that.
Hey everyone, I just want you, if you're joining us right now, we're just giving a pause. You know, during this time and season that there are sometimes technology issues, but we are going to get through it in Jesus' name as Dr. Juwanza gets himself adjusted. So don't worry about it. As soon as he gets back on, we'll get started and get going. And don't forget, if you're joining us, you can type into the chat on Facebook or YouTube. We look forward to hearing from you. We enjoy it. It helps us know that you are engaged with the program. So please say hello, drop a line, how you doing, inside both Facebook and YouTube.
All right. So sorry about that. We are back. As I was saying, I really want to first show some appreciation for our audio-visual team, Carell, and all those who he works with. Also, our communication team for everything they've done. and also for the rest of the mental ministries team. That's Simone Walton and Elder Robert Harris. Really appreciate and thankful for all the work that you've done. So let's jump right into it. We're having a little bit of feedback, but we're going to work through it in Jesus' name. We're going to get through this regardless. Tonight, I really want to talk about anger, right? The title of our discussion today is You're Angry, Me Too, right? This idea of anger and what it means and what it looks like and what it does to us and how to manage it is something that's really important, not just for Christians, but also I think for people of color as well. It is essential for us to be able to get through and understand the concept of anger. All right. So let's go to the next slide. Now, one of the things that you might have been seeing is really a lot of thanks to Elder Harris for this, is underlying, we have like a theoretical orientation that's underlining all of our presentations, right? And for the mental health focus this week. And what that is a really cool acronym called RULER. That's RULER, and I've outlined it here. Recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate. Now, you'll see throughout the week, and maybe you've seen already, each member of the mental health ministry team describing and outlining and explaining these in a more in-depth way. So I'm not going to go through them in a really detailed way, but I want you to know that every letter of this is something that we're going to discuss in some way or another throughout this conversation. We're going to talk about recognizing the signs of anger. We're going to talk about understanding the context in which anger tends to happen. We're going to talk about labeling our emotions and the wide breadth of emotions that tend to come with anger. We're going to talk about that as well. And also, we're going to talk about expressing our anger, getting some of it out, and then regulating it once it is out. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So we're going to start off with our foundation for life, for our worldview, for everything, and that's the Bible. What does the Bible say about anger? All right, anger in itself, first, is not a sin. And that's really important because it's something a lot of people sometimes tend to forget. Anger in itself is not a sin. Ephesians 4:26 states clearly, be angry, but do not sin. And that's really important because anger is a human and universal emotion. What that simply means is that every single person experiences anger. Now, you likely have somebody in your life, or maybe even you, who says, you know what, I don't really get angry. That's not true. I'm here to tell you tonight, this evening, that is simply not true. If you are alive, you experience anger because that's just the way humans are. Now, maybe you bury your anger quickly. Maybe you express it in different ways. Just because you don't throw a table or flip over a chair, it doesn't mean that you're not angry. It simply means that you express your anger differently. Maybe you're a bit more quiet, a bit more passive aggressive with it. Maybe you take it out on yourself. Either way, we all experience anger in some way. And we know that's true because we see God experiences anger. In Romans 1:18, it talks about how God experiencing anger and the wrath that he tends to feel and express. It is a normal expression, something that he created in us, right? And the reason he created it in us is because anger, if it is fueled by righteousness, can be extremely useful in being effective. Now, this is what's really important. In James 1:19, it talks about being slow to anger. I wish I could hear from some of you because I'd be curious about if you knew the first part of James 1:19, because what I put there was the second part. I know this verse so well because it's one of my mom's favorites, right? And the first part of James 1:19 simply says, be quick to listen and be slow to speak and then be slow to anger. Now, it's really fascinating that the Bible coincides being quick to listen to others, being slow to speak, as in not rushing to speak, and connecting that with anger. And we'll see a bit more as we continue through this presentation of how each of those are connected. It is so key and so important to keep that in mind. Now, Ecclesiastes 7:9 says, do not be easily provoked. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. So thankful for those who were in the role play right before this presentation, talking about all the things that provoke them. There are so many things that can provoke us, whether they're small things or large. Now, one of the things that's really important, I think, in this discussion is to talk about what's happening in the world, in our worldwide, or at least our countrywide lives, right? This racial unrest that's going on. Now, for those of us who are people of color, we know this isn't necessarily anything new. It's simply exploding out in a way that's different, at least in the last few years. Now, these are things that can easily provoke us into anger, and we have a right to be angry about them, right? The Bible talks about being frustrated and being angry when someone is mistreated, right? When we're not engaging in social justice to some degree. And so it's really important to place in context why it is we feel angry and where that comes from, all right? Now, also in Proverbs 22:24, it talks about do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Now, the reality is maybe we have some of those friends, but the Bible mentioned that in Proverbs for a specific reason. It's because it's clear that when you are friends with a hot-tempered person, not only do they put themselves in danger, but they put you in danger. Maybe it's not physical danger, maybe it's emotional danger, maybe it's different kinds of danger. These are the types of things that can risk not only your safety, but your friendship and your emotional peace. And sometimes the biggest disturbances to our emotional peace do not come from some faraway land or from some odd stranger. They can be people close to us. And while it's easy maybe to not make friends with a hot-tempered person, what if they're in your family? What do you do? And those are things that we have to discuss and be willing to explore. All right, let's move to the next slide. Now, if you remember anything from this presentation, I want you to remember this. This is really key. So make sure you lean in and zoom in a little bit. This is really key here. For us to continue talking about how to understand and manage anger, we have to explore where anger comes from. Now, anger, unlike almost any other emotion, only a few more, is what we call a secondary emotion, right? It's called a secondary emotion because every single time, all of the time, there is an emotion that we feel before anger. Anger is a reaction to another feeling. Anger is a reaction to another feeling. Here we have on the right our colorful blue image of an iceberg. Now, we all know what an iceberg is, right? Maybe you've seen them in real life, maybe you haven't. But what an iceberg is simply a large amount of ice. And what we tend to see is usually about 10 to 20% of what's really underneath, right? 10 to 20% of the entire iceberg. What's underneath is that large 80, 90%. Anger is only that 10, 20%. What's beneath that is what really matters. We feel a variety of emotions before we feel anger. It has happened so quickly, we feel like we get angry immediately. Anger tends to come from, as you see on the left, humiliation. Humiliation and embarrassment are some things that lead to anger immediately. Fear is a big factor, right? Annoyance, frustration, hurt. Hurt is one of the most popular ones, and lack of control. Lack of control isn't necessarily a feeling, but that frustration that comes from lack of control is tied into it. Now, this is really, really key. And I'll put it in some context for you. For instance, with all the racial unrest that we're feeling and the anger that we're feeling, that all comes from somewhere. Let's look at the beneath the surface part of the iceberg, and let's see if we can identify some feelings. I know I've been angry, so I'm going to identify some from me, and you let me know maybe in the chat on YouTube or Facebook if you felt some of these. When I'm seeing the murders of George Floyd and Tamir Rice and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on, all the way, Medgar Evers or whatever it might be, I'm looking at the iceberg here, hurt. I feel worried for myself. I feel offended. I'm disappointed in those who are supposed to protect us. I'm unsure if they can protect us. I'm exhausted. I'm envious of those who don't have to deal with what I'm dealing with. I'm annoyed. I'm anxious. I'm nervous for myself. I'm feeling rejected by society. I'm feeling attacked. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling distrustful. I'm feeling overwhelmed, feelings of grief, feelings of embarrassment. I feel each and every one of those things. And if you're anything like me, you have felt some of those too. We all feel these emotions. We all feel these emotions, and they lead to anger. The first thing you feel is not anger. The first thing we feel are one of those emotions. But the reason that we tend to lean into the anger is because anger is powerful. Anger feels like it gives you energy to want to do something. When you're angry at someone, you're not a weak person. You can't be considered weak. And so many of us have been taught that if we express any of these other emotions, such as humiliation, fear, annoyance, hurt, any of these other emotions, if we express any of those, then we're weak. If we, because they're a function of sadness and not anger. But I'm here to tell you that expressing and understanding what is behind our anger is so important, because that's the only way that we fully and carefully get to explore how to manage our anger. If you only focus on the tip of the iceberg, then you'll never truly understand where your anger comes from. I'll give you another example. Yesterday, it was a few days ago, I think it was yesterday, I was driving with my mom. We were at Costco. We were leaving Costco, and I'm driving through the parking lot in Costco, and someone comes and doesn't even stop at the stoplight, at the stop sign, and drives straight in front of us to the point where I had to slam on the brakes. And they kept going, and I looked, and they didn't even flinch. I feel like they didn't even see us. They just kept going about their day. They probably never saw us. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I was angry at them. Why was I angry? Right? I felt anger because they drove through and didn't stop. But now the real question is, what were the feelings behind that? Looking back, I can see, one, it's frustration that they don't know what they're doing and can't drive, right? That's an important thing. Two, is a sense of being rejected and dismissal. The fact that they didn't even acknowledge that I was here, not a my bad, not a I'm sorry, not even a slow down or anything like that. They just kept going as if I didn't exist. So really what I felt was rejection, was dismissal, was a bit of fear for my life and for my mom's life. I felt all these emotions really quickly, and then I felt anger. But because it happens like that in a split second, we feel like it's anger. Does that make sense for everyone? I'm going to hear some virtual nods. All right, good. So once again, anger is not the first thing we feel. We have to address the feelings that come before the anger for us to really get to that next part. All right, let's go to the next slide. So how do we manage anger? That's the question. How do we manage anger, and what are the steps to managing it? The first thing that's really important is avoid the buildup by being aware, right? Awareness is our first thing, and underneath awareness, we have to avoid the buildup. Let me tell you what I mean. Imagine you're a child, or maybe an adult, really, right? And you have a water balloon. We all know what water balloons are, right? You take a little water balloon, it's a really small balloon, and you stretch it. And what do? We put it like a sort of under the faucet, and what's next? We turn on the faucet, and what happens after that? The water balloon slowly begins to expand, right? Now, let's make an analogy. Let's say we are the water balloon, right? And the water that comes out is life. As human beings, we are able, and thankfully, thank God, we are able to flex and bend and to take a lot. You don't just take one drop of water and it fills a water balloon. No, it expands and expands because we can take a lot. The problem is, if life is the water never stops, right? The water never stops. Our balloon is always being filled up. Now, specifically with anger, if you are not aware that your balloon is filling up, what will happen? What happens when you leave the balloon on the faucet for too long? Pop. We don't want to pop. As Black people, people of color, as Christians, we do not want to pop. It is never good when you pop, because then we react out of our character, or in your character in some cases, but we react in a way that we often tend to regret. That is not reflective of the character of Christ. And so we have to get the water out of our balloon on a regular basis. Why? Because the water never stops. So we have to just keep always scooping it out, always letting it out in some way. It's the same thing with anger. We cannot allow it to build up. Now, I'm talking to a specific group right now. Those of you who are the quiet ones, the passive aggressive ones, the nice ones, the ones who find it difficult to say no to people, yes, you experience anger. And yes, it will build up in you. And if you are not careful, you will take it out on those you love. Now, I'm going to give, this is some free advice here. You don't have to pay for this at all. This is also a special note for the married couples, right? Because there's a thing called displacement. When our anger is built up, we run the risk of displacing that anger. All that means is pointing it in the wrong direction. We can take that out on those close to us. And if you're married, then your spouse is in danger of experiencing your displaced anger. If you were embarrassed, frustrated at work, if you're sad, if COVID is taking you down, you might find yourself displacing that anger and being angry and pointing some of that anger at your spouse. Keep in mind the risk that comes with. We must understand where our anger comes from. And then to manage it, we must make sure and we know what it feels like when it's building up inside of us. Do not let it reach to the point where you're about to pop, because you will pop. We have to be intentional about experiencing and understanding where the anger comes from so that we don't get filled up. Second, does anyone remember the U in ruler? The U was understanding the context. There are specific things in life that make you angry on a consistent basis. You must do the work of finding out what those things are. I'll give you some examples. Maybe you're the kind, like me, who gets really angry and frustrated because of traffic, right? Now, what's beneath that? What's beneath that anger and frustration is the frustration from having a lack of control, right? Maybe a fear of being late, right? Maybe a fear of disappointing a boss or having pay docked or the embarrassment of being late. All of those things come before the anger. Understand the context. Okay, traffic makes me angry. So boom. What I'm going to do is either, if I can't avoid traffic, in this area it's getting harder and harder, right? If I can't avoid it, then I'm going to engage in things that help minimize and limit my anger. Things such as listening to calming music, having a calming music playlist, creating a playlist, or if you know of an artist whose their music just always calms you down, having that is super important, right? And if you need to call it your traffic playlist, then go ahead and put it on, right? Do whatever you have to do to be able to manage yourself. Talk to someone on the phone if that's helpful. Do some prayer if that's helpful. All of those things this is what I'm talking about in terms of being intentional. If a certain person makes you angry every time they talk, let's try and limit our interactions with that person. Or if we know we have to talk with them, if they're a boss, supervisor, family member, then let's engage in some activities that keep ourselves calm. And if you stay tuned, we're going to talk a little bit about those activities afterwards. Context is key. Know the things that make you angry, right? Now, once we experience that anger, we want to make sure that we express it in healthy ways, because that is a way of really lessening the water in the balloon. One way I'm a big fan of, as you can probably imagine, and some things that Elder Harris and Dr. Walton and I will discuss with you all in a little later, is therapy. I am begging you, as Black people, as immigrants, as the children of immigrants, as many of us are, as African Americans, whatever it might be, we must seek therapy, right? We have to. Because being in this country as a person of color, in and of itself, is traumatic. Just existing in this country as a person of color is traumatic. We cannot afford to go through life being completely oblivious to all of the feelings that we're experiencing and how it hurts not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. Seek out therapy. Now you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll wait till COVID is over. I'd like to stay positive, but we don't know when COVID's going to be over, and it might not be soon. So all of the therapists in the area and throughout the country have changed over to a virtual therapy model where you can either speak with them over Zoom, as we're broadcasting now, over WebEx, Adobe, whatever it is you're using. And if you don't even like that, you can call. There are options for you. There are relatively low-cost options for you. But what I want you to take away is that therapy is important, and we need to make it a priority for our sake. And therapy does not go against the Bible. Therapy can go with the Bible, hand in hand. If you want, you can find a Christian therapist. If you want, there are many Black therapists, Black male therapists, Black female therapists, therapists of all kinds of orientations that you can speak to, and they exist, and I'm here to tell you that they are here for you. All right, that was that commercial, right? Secondly, in terms of expressing our anger in healthy ways, we want to be able to engage in some physical activity. Physical activity is great because it gives you a chance to get some of the physical parts out that help you express the anger, right? Maybe it's running for you, maybe it's jogging. I personally have a punching bag. I encourage you to get that. Get it on Amazon. It was like $40, $50. The standing punching bag with the water in the bottom, so stay steady. Those kinds of things are really good exercise, right? Just if you need to hit some push-ups when you're really feeling enraged, then go ahead and do that. All those things are really key, right? In terms of managing and being intentional about managing our anger, because it is our responsibility. Now, the second part in managing our anger is actually a bit harder than the awareness part, and that's communication. Anyone remember the first part of James 1:19, right? Being quick to listen, being slow to speak, and then that leads to being slow to anger. We have to be intentional about engaging in communication and not shutting down and not lashing out, right? We have to be able to listen to those who we're speaking to if we care about them, listen to how they feel, and then make sure that they're listening to how we feel. All of those things tends to lead to getting water out of our balloon. That calms our tempers, that calms our fears, our frustrations, all of those things. If we're simply intentional about engaging in proper and healthy communication, because they have a direct correlation to anger. Second, being honest. Being honest about what? Being honest about, as we saw on the last slide, that iceberg. Being honest about, yes, I'm angry, but I'm angry because I'm hurt. I'm angry because I'm sad. I'm angry because I'm embarrassed. Know where your anger comes from and be honest and admit it. Admit it to those who we care about. Even admit it to some people you don't care about if you have to, because that limits the amount of angry interactions you have with someone, and that's better for you. We as Christians have to set a different standard for the world. And if you don't want to worry about setting a different standard for the world, this is just so you can make it through the day sometimes. These are important things to keep in mind. Lastly, we want to use our words. If anyone remembers our RULER acronym, right? We talked about recognize and understanding, and we actually talked about expressing as well, but labeling. Label the emotions. There is something really powerful about using our words. And we're saying using our words in as opposed to acting out physically, as opposed to shutting down, right? As opposed to disappearing, as opposed to throwing something, as opposed to being passive aggressive. Use your words, because using words takes some of the power away from the emotion. Even saying you're angry lessens your anger. Saying you're sad can help you be better able to manage your sadness. Saying you're fearful helps you be able to be a bit more brave. Simply saying it out loud is super important. Another reason why talk therapy is also very important, right? So be willing and be able to use our words, to be honest and be quick to listen, right? Be slow to speak so that we can all better manage our anger. All right, let's move to the next slide. We're moving rather briskly. All right. So now I want to make sure that I leave you guys with practical and um practical and really realistic ways of doing this. A lot of this is sort of theoretical. We need some concrete things. Now, for those of us who experience real anger on a consistent basis, we have to be intentional about managing it and getting the water out of that balloon. One of the most useful ways for doing that is simply called mindfulness. And I'm excited because I know that Dr. Walton is going to speak a lot more about this in a lot of different ways, because many of these techniques also work for anxiety as well, and working with your sympathetic system, right? And so being present is an important part of mindfulness and managing our anxiety. What does that mean? It means that, one, let's be honest with ourselves and say that we are going to be angry. You're going to be angry at some point. We're going to be angry at some point. And when you are angry, you want to make sure that you are staying present and admitting to yourself what's happening. You want to make sure that you engage your intellect. Now, what does that mean? Engaging your intellect means sometimes we have two minds, right? We have our intellectual mind, cognitive thoughts, and then we have our emotional mind, right? That piece of us that just wants to ride the wave of emotion, and whatever happens, happens. One of the ways to slow down yourself when you are in the midst of an angry moment is to begin to engage our intellectual piece of our mind, right? To be able to say to yourself, okay, boom, I know what's happening because I know the context, I understand it, I know where my anger is coming from now, because I listened carefully to this broadcast from Juwanza. Right? I have all this information. Let me engage in it right here, right now. Labeling is also a part of that as well. Being able to speak to the anger, speak to the emotion, speak to these things. If you can't say it to someone else, saying it to yourself. That is an important part of being present. Another part is what we call one of my favorite grounding techniques that I'm going to show you right here and now. So unfortunately, I can't hear back from you guys. So I'm going to do it for you and with you. And I'm hoping that you're taking time to do it at home. All right. So we get a chance here to slow down. And I'll show you a different one after this as well. A grounding technique is simply a technique that helps you remain in the present, in the here and now, and not getting distracted by all the other things that are happening. All right. And so this is a really great one. What we do is we focus on all 5 of our senses one at a time in 2 different ways, 2 ways for each sense. What that does is it brings you to the present instead of thinking about the past, thinking about the future, thinking about the what ifs. And the reason it works is because our senses is something really cool. Our senses only work in the present. When you think about it, you cannot smell something in the future. You cannot smell something in the past. You can remember what it smelled like, but you can't smell something in the past. You cannot see something in the future or see something in the past. You can't hear or taste something in the past. Our senses only work in the present. And that's why they're really great at slowing us down. So I want you guys to stop whatever you're doing. Well, keep listening. Don't turn off your computer. And do this with me, right? First, smell. Take a moment, take a deep breath, right? Let's use our nose and see if we can identify at least 1 or 2 smells in the room. I'm trying to do it myself. Let's see here. I had a little, candle type of like a plug-in blade kind of candle smelling thing. So I smell that. I smell some of that. I was cooking some salmon a little while ago, so I smell some of that. All right. So that's good. Did you find your 2 things? All right, good. All right. Next sense. Let's do sight. Sight's a cool one. All right. So let's find, I'm going to say brown. See if you can find 5 brown things around you. I'll count with you. My table here is brown. All right. I have a picture that's brown. I have some boxes in the corner that's brown. I have some shoes that's brown. See my hand? We're going to count that. That's brown. All right. Did you find your 5 things? All right. Good. Next part. Let's find something small, and we're going to count at least 10 to 15 of them, right? Something small around you. Now, I'll give you some hints. If you have, for instance, a poster, you can count the letters on the poster or the words on the poster. If you have tile or patterns in your carpet, count the patterns in your carpet. If you have ceiling tiles, count the ceiling tiles. If you have blinds in your area, count some of the blinds. I have some blinds right in front of me, so I'm gonna count 15 of those out loud. All right, you ready? We're gonna do that. 15. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right. Are we good? So we did smell and sight. Taste. Taste always a little tricky if you didn't just eat. But try and engage the taste buds you have. Can you taste something? Now, do not just remember what you ate. Can you taste something right here and right now? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Maybe it's just spit. That's okay. We'll take that because we're engaging in the sense. I can taste, I had some Tostitos, like little Tostitos chips. I can taste some of that. And like a little almond from a candy bar I had. All right? You figured out what you can taste? Good, good. Let's go to the next one. Hearing. All right, hearing. I'm going to stop talking, 5 seconds, and we're going to all take time and see what it is that we can hear. If we can find at least 2 things. So keep it as quiet as you can, and let's see if we can listen to, see if we can find 2 things that we can hear. All right, good. So let me tell you what I could hear. I could hear the feedback that we have going on here. I'm sure it's probably my fault. That is something wrong. I could hear my AC and a little bit of rumbling of thunder. I don't know if you guys in the area, can everyone else hear some of that thunder? The storm is coming. If you didn't know, the storm is coming. Could you identify 2 things? Good. What's the last one? Let's see, touch. Now this is really important. Touch is the most powerful sense of them all when it comes to grounding yourself in the moment. All right? And the reason that is because it's something about how the sense of touch goes immediately to the brain and can drag you back to the present immediately. So take both your hands, excuse me, take both of your hands and touch something around you that is not you. Anything around you. Don't even look at it. Just touch it with both hands. All right, I'm gonna touch this table that this laptop is on. All right, and we're gonna describe it in 2 ways. Don't use your eyes. Don't tell me what it looks like. Describe how it feels in 2 ways. So this table is smooth, has a little bit of like roughness to it. There's an edge here, and it's a little bit cooler than room temperature. Can you identify the temperature of what you're touching? How does it feel? Is it soft? Is it squishy? Is it bumpy? Is it cold? Is it hot? Any of those things. When you are in an angry moment, an anxious moment, a frustrated moment, grab something around you and start to describe how it feels in your mind. All right, so we just went through all 5 of our senses, and I don't know if you realized, but when you engage in those things, you cannot think about anything else because they force you to stay in the present. That's why it's such a beautiful grounding technique. Please feel free to use that. You go through 2 aspects of each of your 5 senses. It's really easy to do. You can do it in a meeting. You can do it on Zoom. People don't have to know about your business. If you do it subtly, do it all the time. All right? So that's about being present. A second part of mindfulness is about slowing down. We must slow ourselves down. As Christians, we have one of the biggest and most important things that we can use, and that's prayer. Prayer slows you down. Prayer is a direct cousin of meditation and mindfulness because it forces you to stop and not to be distracted by the world. One of the reasons why I had a teacher that says we bow our heads in reverence and we close our eyes to close out the distractions, right? It forces you to stop slow down, and then communicate with the greatest power in the universe that can help you address any issue that you're going through. That's something that just simple meditation doesn't have. You get direct communication, a direct line to God. Do not underestimate the power that is simply in the practice of prayer, which is one of the reasons why Jesus emphasized it so much, because he knew, even if I don't answer their prayers, the act of praying in and of itself is powerful and necessary for them. Do not underestimate the power of prayer. Second is a breathing technique that I'm going to take you through. And what it is it's called a progressive muscle relaxation breathing technique. All right, so it's actually more than breathing. We're going to work through our whole body and slow ourselves down. This is a cool one in terms of slowing your body down when your heart is racing, when you're really angry, you're in an angry moment, and you feel like you're going to say something. You stop, you do this. All right? So we're going to do this together. You guys ready? Yes. Okay, we're ready. Here we go. Everyone stop, slow down for a second. We're going to close our eyes. I want you to become aware of your breathing. Don't change it. Just become aware of it. Feel it going in through your nose. And we're going to exhale through our mouths. Now, on the count of 3, this is important. You follow my directions. People often rush through this. On the count of 3, we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. And we're going to hold it for 3 seconds. On the count of 3. Some of you already rushed, I know. Here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale. Let's do that again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. All right. Keep your eyes closed. On the count of 3, we're going to take our shoulders and we're going to scrunch them up really tightly by our ears. Feel free to peek at me to see what I'm doing. We're going to scrunch them up really tightly by our ears, just like this. We're going to hold that for 3 seconds on the count of 3. It's all directions. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Scrunch them up real tight, 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 tight. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. And then flex them, wiggle them around a little bit, get the blood back in there. Let's do that again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Scrunch them up real tight, tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Wiggle them around a little. All right. On the count of 3, wherever our hands are, we're going to make a tight fist with our hands. And we're going to hold that fist tightly. Don't hurt yourself, but hold it tight for 3 seconds. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release and stretch them all the way out. Wiggle your fingers around. Let's do it again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Tight fist. Hold it tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Stretch your fingers out. Wiggle them around. Get that blood back. Now we're going to do the same thing with our toes. On the count of 3, you're going to scrunch up your toes as tight as you can. Hopefully you got some sandals on. You took the heels off. But even if you don't, scrunch them up as tight as you can. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Scrunch up your toes as tight as you can. Tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release them and wiggle them around. Let's do that again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Scrunch them up real tight, tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release and flex them out. Now, here's the key. You ready? We're going to do all of those at the same time. We're going to take a deep breath. Shoulders, hands, toes. Breath, shoulders, hands, toes. Breath, shoulders, hands, toes. We ready? Here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath, shoulders, hands, toes. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Exhale. Wiggle your fingers, toes, shoulders, all of that. Let's do it again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath, shoulders, hands, toes. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Exhale, wiggle everything around. How about one more for the road? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath, shoulders, hands, toes. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release and wiggle everything around. All righty. Come on back to our presentation. I know you're super relaxed. It's a little late. Don't fall asleep. We're almost done, and we have an awesome quiz afterwards and some other cool stuff. So that technique is called progressive muscle relaxation, simply because you progressively tighten and relax your muscles. It helps to those of us that keep our anger in our body. We feel tense. We get stressed. All our muscles are tensed and we're sweating and crying and all of these things. These are the kinds of things that can calm you down. So that's the second thing that you can take as a tool to help manage your anger. Lastly, let's remain grateful. Let's remain grateful because the very act and sense of gratefulness plays a massive role in managing our anger because it takes our mind off of what's happening and reminds you of where things could be. Right? For instance, in the example I gave when I was driving with my mom in Costco, I can spend a lot of time angry at that person. Or I can be happy and thankful that I didn't hit them. And something bad could have happened to me or my mother or to them. Right? There are a lot of reasons to be angry in terms of this racial unrest and all these things that are happening. We have a right to be angry. However, you don't want the anger to completely take you out of your element. And one of the ways we do that is to be grateful. Be grateful for what we do have. Be grateful for the community that you have. Be grateful for the access to services that we have. Right? Now, that doesn't mean we stop in the fight for continuing to fight for justice as Jesus would do. But we are also grateful that things are not worse as well as we continue towards progress. Stop right now and identify something that makes you angry. All right? Identify something that makes you angry. And find something to be grateful for about that situation. All right? Keep that in mind. Because the very act and the sense of gratefulness, even if you have to go all the way down to the basics of thank you, God, for waking me up this morning and sending me on my way. If you have to go back to those basics, then go ahead and go back to those basics. Either way, they are essential and they are key in managing our anger. Right? So a quick recap. Our anger, we all get angry. We all get angry about something, every single one of us. And our anger always comes from a feeling of being hurt in some way, frustrated, dejected, rejected, out of control in some way. If we are able to identify where that is, where that anger is coming from, why I feel the way I feel, then we can better manage our anger through being present, through that grounding technique of our 5 senses, through that breathing technique, through all of these kinds of things, right? And so if you're able to know where it comes from, to know the context, to know the triggers that cause you to be angry, then we are better able to manage it and to be healthier individuals and also healthy Christians. So once again, my name is Juwanza McIntosh, representative of the mental health ministry team here at Metro. And I was so excited to share this information with you. Please continue to engage in our mental health focus week. We have many more exciting things coming for you. This is only the second day. Tomorrow is going to be awesome. Sabbath is going to be awesome. We have so many great things for you. So please stay engaged. Please stay with us, and we'll continue to move on from there. Thank you again, and have a good evening. Now, stay tuned because we have our quiz coming up, and we want you guys to be able to engage in that as well. Thank you again.
I hope everyone enjoyed that. Juwanza, I want to say thank you, man, for really making me relax. I don't know how anyone's day was today, but going through those exercises, I know they're in a better place right now. And so just like Juwanza said, if you are with us live, Facebook or YouTube, here is your chance. I am launching the quiz right now. You're going to be able to see it. I can tell you what the pin is. The pin is going to be 85, 80, 50. So what we're going to do is just like last time, we're going to go to Kahoot. We're going to go to kahoot.it. Give me 1 second and I'll share that with you. Kahoot.it. You should see it right there on your screen. It's going to be coming up in a moment. www.kahoot.it. And the number is 85 80 50 85 8050. This is a chance to get active with us. Let us know if you were paying attention. We're not doing this just because, well, we're doing it because we like you guys and we like what we do. But we want to make sure that you guys are taking something away. Oh, we see somebody on there. Just Me. Thank you for joining, Just Me. Oh, we got T on there. Let's see. Let's make it a challenge. Let's make it fun. Who else can we get on our Kahoot quiz to see if you're engaged and active with us? We're looking for at least 5 people. I know 5 people can find. You can do this on your phone, on your internet browser. Thanks for joining us, RK. Just go to www.kahoot.it. Put in that number, that PIN number there, and give yourself a name. We got KWRKT, Just Me. Looking for creative names. Who's going to get creative names? Oh, Cece was our winner last night. She's getting a Permission to Feel book being sent to her so she can read and grow herself emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We're going to get started at 8:27. So you got one more minute, probably a couple of seconds to join us live as we do this quiz. We have 5 players. I know that we can get more. And once 8:27 starts, we will get started. Lady T is with us. We have Karel, Cece, KWRK, and T. Who will be our winner tonight? Dr. Juwanza John Harrison says thank you. OCMC says thank you. In our YouTube chat. Let's see if I can catch up with anyone on Facebook. Lachelle says thank you. Thank you all for watching. Remember, this is your chance to get involved. Join us right now. We have 8 players. Oh, 8:27. We're going to get started. All right. Remember, you want to answer quickly for more points, and you want to read carefully. I'll read it out loud, and then we'll go right to it. So let's get started. Music and everything today, everyone. 1 of 7. The skill recognized in ruler is like taking a hard pill to swallow, taking a temperature check, taking binocular situation, or seeing got 2 answers. Once we get all our answers going, we'll move forward with our quiz. I know tonight's going to be a little easier. Last night you all were challenged. Tonight will be easier. Hint, hint, this was something I pointed to last night. This quiz will include things that Dr. Juwanza shared and things that I shared. Being able to recognize your emotions is like doing what? 7 answers, 8 players, 1 more to go. Oh, we got everybody in there. We'll see who's correct in a moment. Yes. Being able to recognize your emotions are like taking a temperature check. Let's move forward. Just Me is at the top with JV right behind. Question number 2. This scripture says that we should not be easily provoked. What scripture pointed out that we should not be easily provoked? Was it Ephesians 4:26? Provisions 22:24, 1 James 1:19, or Ecclesiastes 7:9. This scripture says that we should not be easily provoked. Provisions 22:24, 1 James 1:19, Ecclesiastes 7:9, and Ephesians 4:26. 6 seconds left. You might be able to find the answer. Ephesians, I think it's between 3rd Colossians and 5 Peter. Also, like Juwanza Joan, I think you said that right, Joan Harrison said thank you for listening in the chat. So you got this one right? Correct. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Do not be provoked. Know your triggers. Let's keep it going. Just Me still at the top. CC close behind our winner from last night. And Keith is moving up in the ranks. JV coming up behind. Anger can come from one of these mentioned things: frustration, joy, feeling in control, or feeling courageous. Anger can come from one of these mentioned things. Wow, everyone, great job paying attention. Let's keep it moving. We have a few more questions to go for tonight. True or false, anger is not like an iceberg. True or false, anger is not like an iceberg. Those questions come in really quick. True or false, anger is not like an iceberg. We'll do have a new kind of new this question. I apologize for the loud music. I am not entirely sure how to control that on my iPad. And we got a few more questions though. Just Me. Come on, somebody. I believe somebody out there can take down Just Me. I don't know who you are, Just Me, but I think somebody's going to come for you with this next question. True or false? Being angry is a sin. Being angry is a sin. True or false? All right, let's see. 2 more questions. You got a chance. A good way to manage your anger would be, look at these options closely, yelling at those who annoy you, throwing something, particularly at the annoyance, avoid the buildup, or eating. What is the best way to manage your anger? Throwing something, particularly at the annoyance, eating, yelling at those who annoy you, or avoiding the buildup. Great job, everyone who got that correct. Oh, it looks like a 2-person race. Last question. Fast is good. An example of mindfulness is being present, thinking about what other people think, minding your own business quietly, listening out all the things you hear. We have a change of the leaderboard after this question. All right, let's see who's our winner tonight. CK3, great job winning bronze. T, great job winning silver. And our gold goes to Just Me. Okay, Just Me. Just reach out to us. You can reach out to me. You can put your information in the Facebook chat or YouTube, and we will contact you to let you know about your prize. To everyone else, I want to say thank you and God bless. You are absolutely in control of being able to be more emotionally healthy and emotionally mentally sound. Join us tomorrow night at 7:30, same time. We are going to learn about anxiousness and anxiety, and I know that's relevant for a COVID pandemic era. I want to wish you all a wonderful night. God bless, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.